Creating SOPs is an insanely valuable way to train your team and to build leverage, but an SOP is completely useless if the documentation isn't very good. So to create a good SOP requires you to create good documentation. Wait, hold on one second. What actually is an SOP? Okay. Turns out an SOP is a super boring way to say that you're going to create some form of training which is going to teach someone how to do something. Anyway, back to writing documentation. Now, for me, it's not something that is super high up on my bucket list. I'd be surprised if it is on yours. I would like to see what other items are on your bucket list if it is high. So to save us both time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through exactly what I've been doing over the last 6 months or so to create great documentation without actually having to write anything. So to do this, we're going to need two different tools. And the first tool is a paid subscription to Loom AI. And the second tool is just some form of tool that you use for documentation. So that can be Notion, which is what I'm going to show you. Google Docs, it could be a plain text file. It could be a piece of paper if you're super old school, although I'm not entirely sure how useful that would be. Unless you're actually going to post it to your teammates. But then I guess what you got to do is you got to get the copies of each of those and then get everyone's address and then post it. Just feels like it's probably not the best way to do it. I would probably recommend Notion or Google Docs. And once we actually have those tools in place, all we need is something to record a video about, some form of training to create. And luckily for you and for me, I've been playing around with the Webflow's new MCP integration. And this allows you to kind of make a load of updates to the Webflow CMS through LLM AI tools. So it's kind of nerdy, kind of complex. And what I've been doing is playing around with this, and I want to teach my team how to use this and how to play around with it themselves. It was only released like 2 days ago. So what I'm going to do is record a Loom video on exactly how to use that. Okay, and now we're finished recording. Here's where the magic begins. So we're inside of our Loom account, and all we need to do inside of Loom is go over to this section where we're going to edit and go down to take an action and document. Now from here, what you do is just click on SOP and it will create documentation for you to actually use. The great thing about this documentation is that it gives people 2 ways to consume the information. It goes through all of the key steps with screenshots, which is something they've just recently added. Each of these also has a timestamp so someone can jump through the video and they can kind of skip my rambling. And they can watch the video if they need to watch the video to see any of the context. So what we're doing here is we're giving people basically education in whatever medium works best for them. So all I need to do from here is to take all of this content and put it somewhere, file it so the team can actually use it and make sure that we have something to reference this for. So what I'll do is I'm going to grab absolutely everything from here. And I'm also going to grab this link to the Loom video. Then I'm going to go across into Notion. Now inside of Notion, what we have is a simple database. So we just call this the demand flow knowledge base. And inside of here, we have a bunch of different types of document that we create. But for the purpose of this video, all I'm going to touch on is SOPs. And for us, SOPs are just step-by-step guidance that we create. So inside of this database down here, all we're doing is we're dropping every single piece of documentation into one central database, and then we're going to just reference this information wherever someone needs it. So if something like this is really useful for a developer, we'll make sure the developers have that in their onboarding and inside of their training. So it's very easy for them to see all the documentation about Webflow development and all those types of things. So inside of here, we're going to click new. And for us, we're going to use a template that we already have set up, but you don't actually need a template set up because you could just use this in an ordinary document. So what I'll do is I'll show you exactly how that would work. I'll delete everything here. Here is my document. I'm going to paste this in and you can see that we have absolutely everything inside of here. Now, personally, I like to format this because I do think that it looks a little bit clunky as it is. So we want to make sure this is nice and easy for people to use. We want to make sure that there's like kind of no degradation or no kind of blockers for people actually using this information. So we just want to make sure that everything is nicely formatted. It's very easy to consume this information. Personally, I like to also make sure that these are headings just to break up that content a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that all of those are done. Okay, perfect. So as you can see now, what I've done inside of here is I have created these all as H3s just to break up this content a little bit. And what we have is a super simple document that anyone can go into, see all the information, so what we're going to cover in this Loom video, and get the context that they need. So if they come in here and they want to understand how to set up Claude for Webflow, they just click this timestamp and they're brought directly to the video at this exact point where I start talking about setting up Claude and how to do all those technical pieces, this now means that anyone in the team has this information and I don't have to do this again. This is just done one time, and whenever someone wants information on this, they go to this one document. The very final thing I'm going to do once we've got all this formatting 100% complete is at the very bottom, I'm going to take that Loom video, and because I'm using Notion, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go /Loom, type in the embed, drop this into here, and now at the very bottom we have the video, and someone can just watch it directly on this page. And that is absolutely everything for creating SOPs. Now, the next part you probably want to implement in your system is a way for people to easily find this information, whether that's tagging, whether that's just dropping that information into some form of training. But ultimately, this has made creating SOPs so much easier, because previously, I'd record the Loom videos, but there'd be no context as to what's in the Loom video, or no way to kind of jump around, and no one really wants to watch me for like 10 minutes at a time ramble about random things. They want to get the information, and specifically if they want to reference something, they can reference it inside of here. Now, one little Easter egg that you can do, and it's not something that we do every single time, but one other thing that you can do is grab the transcript from Loom, and when you grab that transcript, you can run it through ChatGPT. So you could theoretically say, hey, create a checklist of all the things that this user needs to do when following these steps. That is something that we have done a few times, and it can be really useful, but it's not something we do every single time, because, for example, this here isn't really something that needs a checklist, because the person understands if it's done or not, because if it works, it's done. If it doesn't work, it's not done. So that is just something that you can add in and start to layer up using these different tools. Hopefully that is useful for you. It has been an absolute game changer internally at Demandflow. We have used this so many times, and everyone in the team is so used to kind of training each other with this kind of method.